Thank you everyone so much for joining in today. With the guidance from Dr. Salim, I have compiled few research-based evidence for today's topic. So today we are discussing about tongue tie. What is the evidence of tongue tie and what is the clinical relevance of it? So as you can see on the right side, we have two photographs. One baby has a tongue tie and another is a normal anatomy. Please feel free to ask away any questions or queries that you may have. So moving on, I will let Dr. Salim explain this.
Okay, so this is a slide. This is an image that we are going to share. We have shared in the past and we will continue to share repeatedly. The reason is that there is so little research and evidence available where it comes to infant feeding, particularly breastfeeding, and a lot of what we practice is based on background information and expert opinion. Now, every tier above the bottom tier usually supersedes that tier. So if we have case controlled studies, cohort studies, randomized controlled trials, they usually supersede expert opinion. Now we pledged to practice evidence-based medicine, and we will continue to do that. We will periodically remind ourselves that it is important to continue practicing evidence-based medicine using images like this. Carry on, Nova.
Thank you, Dr. Salim. So in today's presentation, we'll start by having a brief explanation of what is a tongue tie, how do we identify a tongue tie once we see an infant in our clinic, and most importantly, is phenotomy really necessary if we do identify an infant with tongue tie? Followed by our conclusion, which will give us a standard of care based upon the available evidence for the best quality care, concluding with the management and a position statement for our clinic. So let's begin. Canadian Pediatric Society defines tongue tie as a relatively common congenital anomaly. When we say relatively common, it means the prevalence is from 4 to 10% in our newborns. It is an abnormally short lingual frenulum. As you can see in this diagram, the baby has a short, this is a lingual frenulum, and frenulum is basically a tie which is restricting the tip of the tongue from the movement. The article further states most infants with ankyloglossia, which is tongue tie, are asymptomatic and do not exhibit feeding problems. Based on the available evidence, frenotomy cannot be recommended for all infants with ankyloglossia. And this was published in Canadian Pediatric Society in 2015, which was reviewed again in 2018. So moving forward, further in this presentation, we are going to discuss about the classification system assessment tool. To understand that better, we need to understand what is normal. Every baby is born with a frenulum. This here is a frenulum, but this is not a tongue tie. For the management purpose, we also need to understand that this frenulum, if there is an extension, baby outgrow it, probably from 6 months to 5 years. So when we are talking to the parents, we need to keep that in mind. Even if the baby has a frenulum, they will outgrow it. So how do we identify an infant if the baby is having a tongue tie or not? There are many classification systems, but for the purpose of our presentation, we are going to address these two, Tabby and furthermore, Hazelbaker. Tabby is relatively new. It was launched in 2015, reviewed again in 2019. Tabby is a simple picture version of Bristol Tongue Assessment Tool. As you can see, it uses 4 categories and the rating system is from 0, 1, and 2. The most important and the most significant part of having a Tabby assessment tool is we can print it out or share it with the parents, and they themselves, they can point it out what was their observation, and it will help us to assess clinically. So just a brief explanation what we deal with when we are doing the tongue tie in the breastfeeding baby assessment tool. TABI stands for tongue tie in breastfed babies. First of all, we deal with the look. How does it look? And it's the most simple because parents themselves, they can say, okay, so it was the first picture. When we see our baby crying, it's the first. And it's very easy because we can see it ourselves as well. Secondly, we see where the tongue is fixed. And in that, it's a little bit tricky because we need a little bit of experience to see the fixation of the tongue. In the third category, we deal with how high a baby is able to lift the tongue. Now, this point needs a bit of a clinical experience only because we need to know what is normal. To depicting the normal, we need to know what is the normal height for the baby to understand what is the abnormal height. But with experience, this is possible. And finally, the last one, how far is the baby able to stick out the tongue? In this, the best way to assess is when the baby is about to latch on the breast. So if we have this printout or if we are able to share this, it is very easy to have a assessment of how the tongue is and what the function is. Just briefly overgoing, as we saw, 2 indicates being normal. So if the baby has 2 in all the 4 categories, 8 indicates normal. 6 or 7 babies missing 1 point here and there is borderline. 5, we have to consider what's going on. Moving on to the second classification system, Hazelbaker. Hazelbaker has been there in the market for over 2 decades. And it has helped a lot. It has 2 components. First is the appearance, and second is the function. In appearance, we have 5 categories going by the same grading system, 0 saying there is some anatomical or functional hesitance, whereas 2 depicting the normal. In appearance, we see how the tongue is looking, what is the elasticity, what is the length of the frenulum, where the frenulum is attached to the tongue and to the base. Moving on to the function part, it has 7 components with the exact same grading system, 0 depicting there is some hindrance, whereas 2 depicting it is more so to normal. Now, if we compare these 2 assessment tools, the TABI and the Hazelbaker, they both have their independent benefits and limitations. TABI, as we saw, is very clear because it's visual and it gives us the objective scoring of the tongue tie severity. But at the same time, the biggest limitation of the TABI is it cannot be used by itself. It has to be combined with a structured breastfeeding assessment, where that is where our role comes in. And we have to use TABI tool in accordance with our assessment. And TABI actually does not tell you which baby needs frenotomy as a process of management. Whereas Hazelbaker is a reliable tool which gives you an answer of, is this baby a candidate for frenotomy for the management? But again, Hazelbaker is way more complex and in clinic like ours, which is so fast-paced, it's not practical. Not only because it's complex, it's time-consuming, but also because there are studies which have shown that the appearance has moderate reliability, but at the same time, the function is not easy to assess. As we saw, it has a lot of components. So we need to be judicious about how do we do our assessment to find out if the baby has tongue tie. Just a fun part. So let's see if all these photographs have been taken from our clinic and most of you must have seen this. What do you say? Just throw your answer. What do you think? What does the baby has here? Yes, no, maybe random guess.
So my comment here is going to be that the person who's assessing the tongue tie is able to put in 2 fingers underneath the tongue, right? So the argument is that if they can put in 2 fingers underneath the tongue, is this tongue, whether there's a frenulum or not, is this a restrictive frenulum or not? And there is no answer unless you assess whether this is causing problem with the mother.
Thank you, Dr. Salim. Exactly. And the same goes for this baby as well. The the tongue is able to touch the roof of the mouth. Baby has a frenulum, but is it restrictive? That's what our question is. Having a frenulum, as we saw initially, is a normal anatomical presentation, but to call it a tongue tie, it should be restrictive. Moving forward, interesting question. Is this cupping? Like we just saw with our tabby visual chart, this falls in the category of 2, which depicts normal. I will be sharing this slide forward and everyone can go through the tabby once again to have a better understanding. This one. How about this one? Thank you. So moving forward with our last photograph in the same category, as you can very well appreciate, the baby has a heart-shaped tongue and the frenulum is literally pulling in. This is a very good definition of restrictive, what we are looking for if we want to call a frenulum causing a tongue tie. This is what it should be looking like. So moving forward with addressing the most important part of our presentation, is there a need for frenotomy? In this section, we are going to have, we are going to be having a evidence-based thorough review of the article, and we have taken each and every part from a research article, and nothing has been from what we are thinking. Everything is from what has been printed in well-acknowledged articles. The topics we're dealing with in this heading is breastfeeding. Why speech? Because most of the parents that we address, they all have a very common sentence. We are worried. We are worried because we have heard that the babies who have tongue tie don't breastfeed. We are worried because XYZ said, my baby won't be able to speak because he has tongue tie. And just a brief note on lip tie as well. But firstly, let's understand what is the credibility of these research. This was published in the Journal of American Academy of Pediatrics that concludes that the strength of the evidence on this topic is generally low to insignificant. Why? Because either the research which were conducted were very small in their sample size, because not many people actually identify, because there is no standard classification system, or they had a very short duration, which could not produce a statistically significant result. And most importantly, there was inconsistency in the methodology. What do you mean by inconsistency? As Dr. Salim initially explained, a randomized control trial comes very high up in the hierarchy, and a randomized control trial has a sample group and a control group. Most of the studies, the sample, they crossed over to control. The control, they wanted to become the sample. They had a lot of overlapping, and hence there was inconsistency. And the same was resonated in the up-to-date article, which was reviewed in 2019. The quality of the evidence of most of the studies done on this topic is low, and same because of the inconsistency in the methodology. Keeping that in mind, we are moving forward to address two most important issues on this topic: bottle feeding and other causes when a baby has ankyloglossia. So this article, which was published in the Journal of Periodontology in 2009, says that the tongue tie do not usually cause problem with more passive form of bottle feeding. Bottle feeding basically works through gravity, whereas breastfeeding, the baby's tongue has to cause the ripple effect to express the milk. Hence, the tongue tie do not cause any problem with bottle feeding. So this is for our practical approach. The same article further says in one of the studies, the sample group where the babies did not have any tongue tie, mothers experienced nipple pain. That was because of the poor positioning and high vacuum. So this is a very important point to consider, that if a baby has tongue tie and mother is having nipple pain, we cannot directly conclude 2 + 2, baby has tongue tie, mother has nipple pain. It is because of that. We need to exclude the other causes, because it was clearly seen in the control group. It was because of the positioning and the high vacuum of the baby. And the same was also presented from another research in Up to Date. It is very well available online. 3 trials were done, out of which 2 showed even after frenotomy, mother had nipple pain because it was not because of the tongue tie. It had other reasons. From our practical point of view, when we are dealing with a baby having tongue tie breastfeeding problems, what about that? So this article, which was quoted in UpToDate, says majority of the infants with tongue tie are able to breastfeed without any difficulty. We are going to go over this same conclusion from different article only because we want to put an impact that tongue tie does not automatically mean having breastfeeding difficulty. And this also further says what we just saw, studies have not found any effect of ankyloglossia on bottle feeding. Point noted. Canadian Pediatric Society has announced many studies. For our purpose of discussion, we have taken 2 here, and others also had the similar results. So the first study had a good sample size of 201 newborns, out of which few of them had difficulties with the feeding, but the majority of the infants, 56% with the tongue tie, were able to feed adequately. In the same paper, the different study which they have quoted said 83% of the infants with ankyloglossia breastfed successfully. So we are saying the same thing over and over just to break that mental image of tongue tie is equal to breastfeeding difficulty. This is where our role comes into the play. And this is being quoted from UpToDate, which was updated in 2019. Consultation with a lactation consultant is to exclude other causes of breastfeeding difficulty. So our role is to have a holistic picture of the mother and the baby and to rule out any other thing. That is where our expertise come into the play, and we make sure that we give the best to the baby and the mother from our end. Just a small note, because parents may also address this. What about the speech? What about if my baby has a frenulum and is not able to speak? So what does a tongue tie do? If a baby has a frenulum, till the tip of the tongue, only that becomes clinically significant, which causes articulation issue. What is articulation issue? The baby won't be able to speak fluently. But if the baby has delayed an onset, or if there is a prevention in vocalization, it has to do nothing with tongue tie. Furthermore, another article states that the indication for the frenotomy for the purpose of speech has to be confirmed by a speech pathologist. So if we have any concerns, which is parents are more concerned, we need to have an expert in the field give their opinion. And same was also resonated in UpToDate, that a formal speech evaluation is needed. So our role actually steps back here. We need to have a formal evaluation for the purpose of speech if that's the main concern of the parents. Just a small note on upper lip tie. Upper lip tie is a bit tricky because it's a very controversial topic and we do not have a rating system yet in place. Every baby has an upper lip tie. Every baby is born with a labial frenulum because it gives them their unique smile. It attaches their facial muscles. But it's not that every baby who has a upper lip tie will have a breastfeeding problem because of it. There is the efficiency and the appropriate indication for upper lip frenotomy is still unknown. So we are not very convinced about having upper lip tie released just as of yet. What do we conclude from whatever we have seen? To have a standard of care from these evidences. Just going briefly over the articles, which are very well acknowledged. They say adjusting the mother's positional and the attachment technique, which we usually do, strategies and plans for the positioning, they will avoid the unnecessary surgeries. So that should be our first step. And it further says determining the cause of the breastfeeding difficulty is our main intervention, because once we identify what was the cause and we fix it through the strategical latching and positioning, we can very well avoid frenotomy in most of the infants. The same article further says early lactation consultant support and objective assessment of tongue-tie function, like we saw in TABI, objective assessment of tongue-tie function and tongue anatomy, reduces frenotomy intervention. The same was again repeated in another article in the Journal of Periodontology. That from the clinical point of view, newborn should first receive a thorough professional advice and instruction, which is same the strategies and plan. And it also mentions the same thing which we saw in the earlier slide. Parents should be informed about possible elongation of the frenulum with growth. They grow. It will take up to 6 months to 5 years, but there is a probability that they will go out. And finally, the Canadian Pediatric Society says tongue tie is relatively common, but most of the time it does not cause any significant impact on breastfeeding. And current evidence appears to show that the most newborns with this condition are still able to breastfeed successfully. Frenotomy cannot be recommended for all infants with ankylosing, and the most important part, there is no absolute relationship between tongue tie and breastfeeding difficulties. Finally, a consultation with a healthcare professional who has expertise in breastfeeding is recommended before the baby has been sent for frenotomy. And that is what we have for today.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Very good presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Salim.
Anybody has any questions?